This year's Bound for Glory felt like a turning point for TNA. Big crowd, big production, and honestly, the best the company has looked in a decade. But it wasn't without controversy. Let's break down the action match by match. We kicked off with Speedball Mike Bailey defending his X Division Championship against El Hijo del Vikingo. And let me tell you, this one lived up to the hype. They had a previous singles encounter at GCW during WrestleMania weekend last year, and it felt a little bit underwhelming. But this time, these two pulled out some absolutely mind-blowing spots, with Vikingo hitting a Canadian Destroyer on the apron that brought the entire crowd to its feet. For 15 minutes, we saw one of the best no-limits action Bound for Glory has ever opened with. Speedball ended up retaining, which was a bit of a surprise to me, but it didn't take away from what could very well be the greatest Bound for Glory opener ever. Definitely check this one out. Next, we had Jody Threat and Danny Luna of Spitfire challenging Rosemary and Wendy Chu for the Knockouts Tag titles. While Spitfire looked good and continues to build their chemistry together, it was the fallout between Rosemary and Wendy that stole the spotlight here. After some miscommunication, Rosemary finally had enough and turned on Wendy Chu. That's fine, but the Knockouts Tag Division is in desperate need of depth right now. Ash and Heather by Elegance are starting to get noticed, but it feels like there are only two teams in this division at any given time. This match was fine, but not exactly memorable on a card with some serious competition. Then came a unique matchup between Josh Alexander and Steve Macklin. Despite the Northern Armory being banned from ringside, Alexander found a way to stack the odds by using zip ties to restrain Macklin mid-match. The ref tried to free him, but Macklin, in a moment of intensity, refused any help and fought on. The zip tie drama revived the crowd, which had been fairly quiet, and gave Macklin a beastly look as he powered through. Alexander ultimately won with an ankle lock, making Macklin pass out. But Macklin's stock is definitely rising. It's tough to see him take so many losses after losses, but it seems like his time will come. The guy makes everyone look good, and hopefully he finally gets his moment to shine, eventually. Then we got into the hardcore action with PCO, Matt Cardona, Monsters Ball. Now they didn't play up the whole 24 hours with no food or water gimmick, but Cardona did come out in a Ghostbusters costume. PCO, as usual, didn't hold back, and there were plenty of brutal moments. Especially when Cardona jabbed thumbtacks one by one into PCO's face. It was a wild visual, and something I don't think we're ever gonna forget. No tables were involved, maybe Jeff Hardy claimed them all earlier in the day, but the match brought a fun, chaotic element that helped diversify the card. Cardona's a great stupid heel, and it was nice seeing PCO get revenge on him. Then we saw Santana square off with Moose in just a great wrestling match. Moose was the perfect guy to test Santana in his first big pay-per-view, and the chemistry between these two was evident. Santana shined, showing glimpses of a future babyface champion. Moose also did a great job putting him over in the end, and it's baffling AEW didn't capitalize on Santana's potential. With this performance, he looks ready for that big push in TNA. And now, probably my favorite match of the night, Masha Slamovich versus Jordynne Grace. Going into the show, my favorite Knockouts match of all time was their clash at Bound for Glory 2022, but somehow they topped it. This was a physical, brutal match, with both women delivering hard-hitting action and that emotional story. It felt like a passing of the torch as Masha took the win and the title. With rumors of Jordynne heading to WWE, it's clear that Masha is ready to step up and establish herself as one of the best knockouts in TNA history. If Gail Kim and Awesome Kong is TNA's greatest knockouts rivalry, well, I think I know number two. Now we got a bit of a curveball, with Joe Hendry versus Nick Nemeth not main eventing. This had fans wondering what was up, and it didn't take long to see why. With Kazarian as the special guest referee, having won Collier shot earlier, this match was overbooked in the best way possible. JBL ended up knocking out Joe Hendry, and on his way out, he took a shot at Ryan Nemeth too. The result? Nick Nemeth capitalized and retained, leaving fans furious. This wasn't the ending that Joe Hendry fans probably wanted, but with TNA Genesis coming up in January, I have a feeling this isn't going to be Hendry's last shot. The booking here may be controversial, but I think it's still building to something bigger, and I'm curious to see how it all unfolds. Did Nick Nemeth know about this interference while he was supposedly knocked down? I mean, JBL did almost decapitate his brother, but maybe Nick Nemeth's the kind of guy that would do whatever it takes to hold on to that championship. And where does Kazarian fit into this? Who knows, but I think we'll find out come January. And finally, the main event, Full Metal Mayhem Reimagined. This was advertised as the Hardys' final TLC match, and boy did they make it count. Up against them were ABC and The System, two tag teams that are well deserving of this position. Jeff Hardy turned the ring into his personal playground, painting tables, ladders, chairs, practically everything with his iconic style. For Jeff Hardy fans, this was an epic tribute to his legacy. I'm Jeff Hardy fans. And it was a huge moment for Chris Bay and Ace Austin, the main event of Bound for Glory. Though the night ultimately did belong to the Hardys. We saw some unforgettable spots, like Chris Bay taking the famous spear from an edgehead himself, Brian Myers, and of course Jeff's Swanton bomb from the top of a ladder, sending Myers through a table. The crowd was electric as the Hardys claimed the tag titles, marking their place in history by holding gold across 4 different decades. The show closed with the Hardys celebrating in front of a packed house, something that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago when TNA's crowds were sparse and the energy was lacking. TNA has real momentum, and as we look ahead to the new year, there's a feeling that something special is brewing in this company. That's my take on Bound for Glory 2024. What did you think of the show? Was it as memorable for you as it was for me? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more wrestling content.